just to kind of give this bill a little bit of color and explain why this bill might be the most personal bill that's ever come across my desk in my short time here in the legislature. 28 years ago, I was a young woman. I was underinsured. My husband and I was 23 years old. And I walked into Planned Parenthood in Newton, New Jersey, looking for prenatal care. And I wasn't there for an abortion. I had heard that they offered a sliding scale for different services. So I said, this is great. I went. They confirmed my pregnancy. And they did say to me that the only immediate service they could offer me following a pregnancy test was termination. I asked for a referral. And at that time, 28 years ago, they said, you can go to Newton Hospital, but we don't do that here. We don't do prenatal services here. So last year, when this came up, I called Planned Parenthood in Newton. So now it's, 27 years later, I guess, if we do the math backwards then. And I asked again. I didn't pretend to be pregnant. I just said, I'm curious, do you offer prenatal care? And they said, no, we don't. And upon doing, a little further research, I did discover that full prenatal care is offered in 2 locations out of 19 in the state of New Jersey from Planned Parenthood. So Planned Parenthood does not provide prenatal care in a vast majority of its facilities. So if a woman wants to carry your child, have the baby, requires prenatal care, wants to give the baby up for adoption, Planned Parenthood is not helping them plan their parenthood. And this is where it gets dangerous when we talk about semantics of language, right? When Assemblyman Danielson talked about is misleading a word that we kind of get caught in the weeds about. I agree with you. Misleading is a dangerous word because what's misleading to me, I find the title Planned Parenthood extraordinarily misleading because they certainly didn't help me plan my parenthood. You may disagree. You may think that Planned Parenthood means that they're teaching you how to avoid parenthood. But the word misleading is a non-starter in this bill. So to talk about what Assemblyman Guardian stated, we have a serious problem here when we look at this issue from a deceptive advertising point. So this case, our former Attorney General, Matt Platkin, pushed forward with the Attorney General's office about this very issue against a pregnancy resource center. And Justice Clarence Thomas and Justice Samuel Alito, so this has made it to the Supreme Court of the United States already. And Alito pressed the Attorney General's office on its shifting legal arguments and extraordinary scope of the subpoenas, questioned how the state of New Jersey could justify demanding names of donors and internal records from a nonprofit organization engaged in protected speech. But Clarence Thomas forced the most revealing admission. Under questioning of the court, the chief counsel to the New Jersey Attorney General acknowledged the investigation into pregnancy centers began with 0 consumer complaints. So this is a bill about consumer fraud, consumer complaints, and it was a witch hunt, but it gets better. It gets better from there. The New Jersey Attorney General's office worked in conjunction with Planned Parenthood to draft this legislation. And that's proven under Oprah. Those records were Oprah'd, and it proved collusion that Planned Parenthood actually helped write the legislation to target its most aggressive competitors, these pregnancy resource centers that offer an alternative to Planned Parenthood's largest business. And I don't say that tongue-in-cheek. I say, and I pulled, to be honest, I don't know much about specific numbers with Planned Parenthood, so I did have to take a look. According to their annual report last year, they performed roughly 400,000 abortions nationwide, and a fraction of that was prenatal services and adoption referrals. So roughly in New Jersey, for every 1 referral for prenatal services, 45 abortions were performed. So it really does beg the question, what are we doing here if we're talking about deceptive advertising, right? We have an organization that calls themselves Planned Parenthood, through Oprah, colluded with the Attorney General's office to launch a Supreme Court case, which in actuality is going to get smacked down and smacked down hard for unconstitutionality. Nobody wants women at risk. Let's call it for what it is. Look, I happen to not be on the same side of the argument as my colleagues on the other side. That's no secret. But I think everybody in the room could agree that safety is the issue. This bill goes so far. It's going to get struck down by the Supreme Court. It actually harasses the very people who give their time, their money, and I asked that question about taxpayer dollars for a reason. They don't get a penny of taxpayer funds at all for any of the medical services that they provide, any of the counseling services they provide, not one penny. We're going to have our budget tomorrow, and I guarantee you Governor Sherrill is going to spend, I mean, I don't even know how much, I'm not going to guess, oodles of money is going to go towards Planned Parenthood, who 1 out of 45 is a referral to actually have a child. So I say we slam the brakes on this. We got the amendments at 9:54 a.m., which was 6 minutes before the meeting started. It didn't give any of us on either side of the aisle to really have a chance to dive in, as Chairman Danielson even was asking questions about the broad scope. So I would, if you support this, I suggest you table it. But for all the reasons that I discussed, I'm a hard no. Thank you.